Welcome to the sixth episode of this tutorial series. In this episode we will have a look how to use global areas and how to override the default navigation here at the top. In order to use global areas, we have simply to implement inside our theme some global elements or some global areas. So I'm just going over to my header. And if you remember correctly, inside our default, we have something called new area, where we then say, hey, user, here you can insert some blocks. I'm just copy pasting that one. And I'll just add that one here to the header area. So now the user can drag and drop elements inside the header area. But one big difference we have to make here is it's not going to be a normal area, it's going to be a global area. And what the difference between a global area is something I'm going to demonstrate you in a second. Header area, I'm going to save it, and then we will have a look at our page here. So the navigation is currently gone. We're going to add a new text or a new block up here. And I'm going to give it some text of, this is my custom header text, and save it. Okay, doesn't look good, but it doesn't have to, because we're just using it currently as a placeholder and to tell you what the global area is. So we can see it is currently here in the top, right? So if we now refresh the page here, it will also be here. If I now open another page, let's say block 1, it will also exist here. So the global area simply means whatever change you do to this block on whatever page, it will be taken over by every single page. In other words, you only have to specify or create the navigation here once, or insert once a navigation block in the top, and the same goes for the footer. So you don't have to recreate that every single time, because those will be global wide. So let's do that also for the footer. And here I'm just going to write my p tag, source p, copyright 2019, ugly block, and then save it. And here we can see that one works perfectly fine. But now what about the navigation here? Because navigation, that is a little bit more tricky. Navigation can have submenus, navigation can have special links. Of course, we can again go inside the API and look up what we can get from the navigation. But Concrete has already by default a very, very good and well-written navigation block that we can kind of reuse. If we have a look here, we have here something called AutoNav. And then we have some kind of tools here that we can use. The preview, add, the block is added. I'm just going to delete this one. Yes, we want to delete it. And then I publish changes. So now we can see we have all the links that we want, but they're not really styled. And now the big question is, how can we actually style this part? Well, maybe you remember that I said if you want to overwrite something from Concrete Core, you just have to copy paste the whole path of it and the file, and then you can update that one. So we can see the block of AutoNav, the one that we just used from the core Concrete 5 blocks. we just can copy the path of it and the view file. So let's do that. Inside blocks, we create a new file, a new folder called autonev. Is that the same one? Autonev. And then we just need one file called view. While I'm already at it, I just copy paste it. Then I go up here inside blocks, inside autonev, I paste it. And now whatever changes I do inside this file will overwrite the autonev block here. So let's have a view what the output HTML is. Okay, looks good, looks nice. Let's go ahead and grab our own navigation that we want to use and just drop it down below here. So we know what kind of structure we are looking for. So they already start with the UL class nav here. So I can think of or imagine that we can wrap the nav element all the way around it. So they're already starting up here with a for each, but that's not where we want to start. We just echo out nav class here. And we do it very, very late at the bottom. Oh, and it has to be, of course, inside PHP. So now the nav tag is the container and wrapper around, and we can reuse now this UL class. Then we can see that they already start with an li with the class name. We don't have any class name, so that's totally up for concrete. Echo href, that's the URL of each one, that's the target of each one, that's the class of each one, that's the name of each one. We don't have any submenus, so we remove these and we just echo a closing tag then. After everything is done, we close again the UL. And that should be it. Now, if I'm not wrong, if we refresh the page, we should see all the classes in a very structured way, so we have it. And it is. Of course, if you want to use submenus, then you also need to style submenus in your default files, and then by overriding this class here, you can do then the specific things with has a submenu and then style the submenu. But yeah, that's it for global areas and overriding a default Concrete 5 block and also using navigation. And just let me have a quick look at what we have on our to-do list. Yeah, and then I think we're closely getting to the end of the whole Concrete 5 development. The only thing that's missing now is how do we actually now restructure our whole developer environment here, so we later on can upload it to a server. So in the next episode, I'm quickly just going to create a web server, probably on Amazon Web Services. I'm not going through that one. So you should already have some knowledge where your web server is or how to use it. And then I'm using Git to push and pull the website onto the website from back and forth, and what kind of files and elements should be inside the git ignore file, and also how to export and import the database. So that's then for the next episode, and probably the final or second final then.